Right, thank you. So once again, welcome everyone. This is a Traveling Abroad with Advanced Parole information session for DACA recipients, hosted by the Indaki Spartan Student Resource Center in collaboration with Immigrant Legal Defense and the Study Abroad and Away Office. For today's presentation, we're going to be hearing from some key campus partners. First, we're going to be hearing from Barbara Pinto, who is a managing attorney at Immigrant Legal Defense. Immigrant Legal Defense is an organization dedicated to advocating for undocumented immigrants, and they are a campus partner and also a partner to various CSUs in the Bay Area and the Central Coast. We're also going to be hearing from Dr. Vidalino Rader. I apologize if I butchered your name, Vid. Vid is the program specialist for the Study Abroad and Away Office here at San Jose State, and he will be speaking on the resources and opportunities for domestic and international travel at San Jose State for all students. And of course, at the very end, we'll provide an opportunity for folks to continue asking us questions, although you don't have to necessarily wait till the very end. And we also want to share with you an opportunity for you to give us feedback and give us a little more information about what are your needs around travel, whether it's domestically or internationally. So with that, I will now like to go introduce my colleague, Barbara Pinto, who is, again, managing attorney at Immigrant Legal Defense, who will share with us a little bit about what advanced parole is. Thank you, Barbara.
Of course, thank you, Anna. It's been really great to collaborate with you and with the Study Abroad office at San Jose State. Okay, so to get started, I'll share a little bit of information about our organization, Immigrant Legal Defense. Thank you, Anna. So we're, like Anna said, we're a nonprofit organization and we provide free immigration legal services to CSU campuses, 9 in total in the Bay Area, Central Valley, and Central Coast. There are other organizations that provide the legal services to the other remaining CSU campuses. Our services are available to students, staff, faculty, and their families, and it's all free and confidential. And our services not only include the initial consultation with an attorney, but also case representation. And so today in particular, we're going to be talking about requesting advanced parole while having DACA. And that is something that as attorneys, we can help you prepare the application, file, as well as prepare you before you travel abroad. And we also cover other types of immigration cases. So if you want to look into to see if you have any other more permanent options available to you, whether it's through a family petition or obtaining a green card in another way, or if you already have status and would like to apply for your citizenship, we also handle those types of cases. Any questions you have, or even if you would like to see if we can help or be able to give an assessment on your case, please make an appointment to talk to us. So we'll share towards the end how to reach out and make that appointment. Okay, so before we talk about advanced parole, I wanted to give a brief background on DACA, which is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. And it's a program that was implemented back in 2012. DACA grants eligible youth and adults work authorization, so the person can work lawfully in the US. They would obtain a work permit, a social security number, and through DACA, they also receive protection from detention and deportation. So they're allowed to remain here in the US while they have DACA. DACA is, if you continue to qualify, you can continue to renew your DACA every 2 years. And for those that have never applied for DACA, USCIS is now again accepting initial applications. So you can apply for DACA for the first time. And if you have DACA already, you can also apply for advanced parole, which is what we're talking about today, to be able to travel abroad. Next slide, please. So advanced parole, essentially what it is, it's a travel permit. So you need to, before you leave the US, you need to request this travel permit from USCIS, which is the immigration agency that adjudicates DACA and these advanced parole requests. So you submit a packet telling USCIS where you want to travel, your reasons for travel, the dates, all the information, and then you wait to see if that is granted or not. So you need to receive the grant or the approval of this advanced parole so that you're given a special travel document so that when you come back into the US, you can ask to be let back in. For advanced parole, you need to have DACA, like I mentioned, and you also need to show that your travel falls under the qualifying reasons for advanced parole. So unfortunately, you can't seek advanced parole just for vacation purposes, like just to go and be on a beach, unfortunately. So it has to fall under one of these three requirements. So the first one, which is more relevant to the discussion today, is educational reasons. So for example, if you through San Jose State would like to study abroad and you're accepted into a study abroad program, that could be a reason why you apply for advanced parole. Or if through the university you are involved in academic research that needs to be done abroad, that is another reason. It can also be programs that are not connected to the university that involve some type of cultural or language or some other type of educational opportunity. The second reason is you can also obtain advanced parole if you are traveling for employment reasons. So you have an overseas assignment, you have an interview, your job is sending you to train to another office abroad or for a meeting or for interviews, or for example, there's a job conference you'd like to attend that's abroad. These are all reasons that could fall under the employment requirement. And third is you can request advanced parole if you want to travel for humanitarian or personal reasons. Like I said, it can't just be to vacation, but if, for example, you need to obtain medical treatment abroad, or you would like to attend funeral services for a relative, or you have a family member that's really ill that you want to see soon, those are all reasons why you can request advanced parole. And like I mentioned, advanced parole, when you request it, you're requesting a travel document so that you can ask to be let back into the US, but it's not a guarantee that you'll be let back in. And so that's why we really recommend, regardless of what type of travel you're falling under, or whether you're applying through a program through the university or not, to really connect with us as attorneys to be able to advise on individually what are your risks and benefits in traveling. Because advanced parole is discretionary. And even though you are granted this travel document, the officer that is reviewing your document either at the border or at the airport, again, has to make a determination whether you will be let in or not. And I think the other risks that go along with that is the COVID pandemic may continue to impact travel, or maybe not, I think, as things improve and reopen. So we're still assessing what that will look like. And just to make sure that if you're not granted advanced parole, you should not travel outside of the US, because if you leave without obtaining advanced parole, your DACA will be terminated once you, if you're able to come back in. So you really need this, this permit before leaving the US. And there are, like I said, benefits associated to advanced parole. Of course, the obvious one being able to travel and either participate in a program or participate in something related to your job, or visit relatives or your hometown, but also it can potentially help you with your case if you are applying to adjust your status and apply for a green card. And these are all things that we can cover with you individually when you meet with us one-on-one. Okay, so what is needed to apply? So even though you already have DACA, you still have to submit a different form with its own set of documents and a separate filing fee, unfortunately. So There is the form you have to submit is the I-131, and the filing fee, unfortunately, is more than DACA. It's $575. There's a different process depending on whether you need the advanced parole expedited in an emergency basis or not. I know there's a question in the chat about how far in advance you have to submit advanced parole, and it just depends on the reason you're traveling and when you want to travel. There's a way to do it if you need to travel that same week. There's a way to have it be expedited that same day or week, or within a couple of months if needed. But normally, I think you should allow around 4 to 6 months or so to request it. But you do need to, so for example, to request it for a study abroad program, you do need to have documentation showing what the program is about, the approval letter from the program, or document confirming that you're already part of the program, you've been accepted, and what are the proposed travel dates. So it also depends, the timing depends on when you're able to gather these documents. Similarly, if you're applying through an employer, you need to have confirmation from your employer as to why you're traveling and why it falls under employment reasons, whether, like I mentioned, you're attending a conference or a training or a meeting abroad. And if you need to travel abroad because you're visiting someone who's ill or who recently passed, then you can also obtain documents related to that to prove that reason. So these are just some examples. That isn't what you need or the only documentation that's allowed. It really just depends on your circumstance and the reason you're traveling and what the program looks like. And so we can work with you individually and also with your study abroad office that's collaborating in this webinar to be able to figure out what we can obtain to submit and make sure you have the strongest application possible for advanced parole. If you're traveling for humanitarian reasons, because you want to see a family member that's ill or passed away, there's a question about if the person needs to be an immediate family member or it can be extended family member. This really depends, and we've seen USCIS adjudicate these in different ways. It seems like if it's a closer relative, it's a little bit stronger, but I think you can make an argument either way, even if it's an extended family member. So for example, maybe or maybe even somebody that's not related to you, but that you grew up with and you lived with and you were really close to. So it just depends on the circumstances, and whatever it is, we can work with you to explain why you're trying to see someone that's not related to you, or maybe an extended family member that just maybe on paper looks like they're not close to you, but we can explain with letters or a declaration as to why. Or sometimes we've had individuals apply because they're trying to attend like funeral services for someone that's part of their spouse's family. So they're not closely related to them at all, but they want to accompany a spouse to the services. So there's different ways to be able to make it so you can show the relationship or the closeness, which unfortunately USCIS cares about, which is so just like a very ancient way of looking at things. Okay, next slide, please. So as I mentioned, these are ways ILD can support you with advanced parole, definitely in talking to you so you understand your options, your benefits, what is your risk. Even though someone technically with DACA can apply for advanced parole. There will be cases where we won't recommend advanced parole. Because with DACA, you can receive DACA and have an outstanding deportation order, or have certain contact with the criminal justice system or other issues in your immigration history that may make it so with DACA you're fine and you can continue renewing it, but that would make it really difficult for you to travel on advanced parole and would increase your chances of not being let back in once you do come back. And so, but we would talk that with you so that you understand what that looks like, and are there red flags in your case that you should be worried about or not. And if you want to move forward with advanced parole, we can represent you in that. So we can be your attorneys in your case. We'll help you file, and we'll manage the case with you and keep track of it until you receive a response. And we can also provide you with information to navigate when you do come back in the interview, either at the airport or the border. So we would prepare with you beforehand before you travel, so you have the necessary tools to feel comfortable when you do come back in and have to talk to an immigration officer, customs officers about your trip. And again, all these services are available to students, staff, faculty, and family members, all free. So please, please reach out, and we're happy to help and assist in any way that we can. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Barbara, for all of this really, important information. So we're going to move on to the next section and have our colleague Vid to talk a little bit more about the educational opportunities here on campus. But I want to remind folks, this is not the only time you can ask Barbara questions about what advanced parole is. Feel free to drop any questions now, and then we're going to come back towards the end of Vid's presentation and review some of these questions. So with that, I will now like to introduce my colleague Vid, who is the program specialist at Study Abroad and Away Office. Welcome, Vid.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you so much, Barbara, for that very clear information. So I'm Vid Ratiar, really representing the Study Abroad and Away Office. Before I go to the next slide, I just want to let you know that I do have four other colleagues. One's on maternity leave at this point, but 4 other colleagues at the Study Abroad and Away Office who I'm representing here, but they are as competent and as compassionate advisors as you will find on this campus to help you work through some of your own goals and how it matches with San Jose State's international education approaches. So let's go on to the next slide, Anna. What we thought we'd do is really briefly talk about, I'm not going to go through our normal Study Abroad 101 presentation on what Study Abroad is. Really, this particular slide, I'd like to just, give just a context of why there is such an Office of Study Abroad and some of the goals that we try to meet. San Jose State has over 350 programs domestically and around the world where students can add even more value to their Spartan education. The Study Abroad and Away Office, which is located at the College of Professional and Global Education, manages that portfolio of 350 and over 300 programs. We really manage our programs out of this portal and what you see on the slide here. The URL being goabroad.sjsu.edu. Feel free to get on that and take a look at all of these different options. Why would San Jose value having a Study Abroad and Away Office? Essentially, for a couple of reasons. One, academic, enabling students to earn credits that fulfill San Jose State degree requirements, either at another university or perhaps led by a San Jose State faculty or staff. So essentially, that's one. Another reason might be to diversify students' learning by having them take classes in the US or in another country for different duration of and length of programs, ranging from week-long programs to semester to actually year-long opportunities. A third one might be just for students to immerse in other cultures, perhaps their own heritage culture or where their family perhaps came from, or to participate in service learning opportunities, which are not necessarily credit bearing, but yeah, perhaps provide opportunities for personal growth. Another reason that we offer study abroad and away opportunities for some of the state students is to essentially enable students to either make friends or build their connections with other students, either San Jose State students or students from around the world, if they're able to study in other universities around the world. And the other reason is for students to develop cross-cultural skills to either enhance your resume or essentially to prepare for graduate school application. And the last one that I think students often choose study abroad for is to improve their employability, right? Research does show that only 10% of college students in the US go through this global experience, educational experience. So that's an opportunity for San Jose students to partake in. Now, if we can go to the next slide, Anna. You might ask, well, what are some of the resources that you could expect from the Study Abroad and Away office? Let's see. Anna, can you just maybe refresh? Anyways, I'll go through that. You could expect compassionate and competent study abroad advising. Right. So when you come to, or when you contact us through our email, or when we're back on campus, you are able to meet with us in person. You'll expect that our study abroad advisors are competent and compassionate to every student's cases. We also, you should expect that on our website and through our conversation, you'll be able to connect with some of your existing scholarships, perhaps university scholarships, university financial aid, and other nationally known scholarships and grants that you perhaps qualify for. You'll also expect that all of our application process and our procedures are done online. Right? So even with as we're working, virtually from home, we don't stop, making connections for students and having students apply online. Barbara had mentioned the acceptance letter and having some kind of documentation for, proving that you are accepted into a program. We can certainly provide that for you as needed. You could also expect pre-departure orientation. So before every student goes on a study abroad and away program, we require pre-departure orientation, either from the faculty who are leading those programs or from the study abroad office staff. Sorry. And the final thing that I might say, and these are just some of the resources that you could expect, is an international insurance. So every San Jose State student goes on a study abroad and away program is expected and required to have the San Jose sanctioned insurance company that helps students. I just put in there too that you may need to consult with Barbara, particularly in terms of how insurance might work for, with regards to DACA. So I'll leave it at that. And then the final thing I wanted to say in the final slide is I want to just provide some links. to some helpful links for you. Right? So the Study Abroad Away website is sjsu.edu/study abroad. And on there, you'll be able to, you can link on some of the different financial aid scholarships, grants that are available for students. You can certainly make an appointment with us as well. So you can make an appointment with each one of the study abroad advisors. And then I encourage you to go to our goabroad.sjsu.edu, where you can find all of these. All right, back to you.
Thank you so much, Vid. So just to kind of tie in some of the things that we've learned, because I know it's a lot of information for folks. So again, we're trying to introduce what is advanced parole and how does it work either for humanitarian, educational, or for work purposes, right? What does that look like for folks, and what are the resources that are available to you? So ILD is open to all students to really be there as a consultant, provide you legal advice around what your options are. And especially for students who are thinking about traveling for humanitarian or for employment purposes, meeting with Barbara now or with her team would be like a really great place to start. For students who are thinking about studying abroad or thinking about educational opportunities, Vid provided us with a really great, some really great introduction information around the program and what are the resources available to you as a student to be able to tackle some of those abroad opportunities. And so as we, wait to hear back about, the travel restrictions due to COVID and what that's going to look like in the future, continue tapping into the knowledge that the Study Abroad and Away advisors have, and learn about what are the different programs that are out there so you can start building a plan for yourself, whether it's within the next year or so, or between now and the moment that you graduate. Hopefully Advanced Parole will continue to be here for students who have DACA and who qualify to be able to take on these really incredible opportunities. So with that said, I'm looking at the wrong screen here. We do want to hear from you. So right now we are in the initial planning conversation. What can resources and support look like for our undocumented students? But we cannot fully implement this information without your input. And so if you do have some time, please take about 10 minutes out of your day to let us know what are the resources and information that you need around traveling, whether it's domestically or abroad. We're going to be having this link available for students in the upcoming weeks, so to continue getting feedback from folks. But in the meanwhile, please feel free to tap into our experts, folks from the Study Abroad and Away office, Vid and Julie, who are here with us today. Barbara Pinto and her team at ILD can provide you with that personal support around legal advice and helping you prepare your your advanced parole packet. And if you have any other questions or you just want to check in with someone, our center is also here to support. So please let us know what you need. What are the questions that you have? Whether or not they were answered in this session, please let us know. We want to, again, we want to continue working towards creating and building more resources and information for all of you to access at any point. All right. So I want to share a little bit more about the legal resources available here at San Jose State. So some of you might have already utilized them. So ILD is available for all students, staff, faculty, and immediate family members. We have consultations throughout the semester, but students are able to request a consultation outside of those dates if you like. You can do so by filling out our intake, which can be found on our website. And for students who are applying for DACA, first-time applicants, or you're renewing your DACA application, please feel free to request, we do have DACA fee assistance for registered students, whether you're a graduate or an undergrad. So if you filled out your DACA application, let us know if you need that funding request. If you filled it out, say, for example, November, December, and you already paid out of pocket, still, fill out this request, and we can work with you to see how we can support you to reimburse you. But if you have any questions, specific to the legal resources or Study Abroad Away, feel free to reach out to us. And we'll put our, I don't think we included our contact information on here, but we'll include it in the chat. All right. And I do want to provide folks with an opportunity to ask any questions if they do have any. I know some folks came in a little bit late. Any questions from our audience members? We still have Barbara and Vid on the call who can answer any questions that you all may have. All right. All right. Any, well, maybe I'll turn it to our guest speakers today. Any tips, recommendations, or resources that you want to highlight for students as they think about this? Oh, let me ask one question. We did have a question come in as you all think about some of that input. So we have a student asking if you need advanced parole to travel within the United States. Barbara, I'll probably refer that one to you. You're on mute.
Sorry, I was on mute. So you don't need to advanced parole to travel in the US or certain, like for example, a US state such as Hawaii that's not in the contiguous 48 states, you don't need advanced parole for that. You also don't need advanced parole to travel to Puerto Rico. So even though Puerto Rico isn't a state, you still don't need advanced parole to travel there. But you would need advanced parole if you're traveling to another country. So you need something that's not associated with the US. So that you do need. The Real ID requirement is separate from advanced parole. That just means that when you are traveling, you need an ID that qualifies as an ID under federal purposes. So for example, if you've obtained an AB60 license in California, because you're undocumented and you're not eligible for a Real ID license, then that won't be enough. You can't use that as an ID for to board a plane. So that won't be enough once the Real ID requirements kick in, if they do in October. I know that they were delayed because of COVID, so, but that's the latest we've heard. But you can travel with, for example, your country's passport. And there are other documents that you may use as well. But that of course raises other issues about how you're flagging yourself if you are traveling with not a US based ID. But we can also chat with you about that more in detail too, one-on-one.
Anna, I wanted to also add, was there another question? I wanted to answer your question, or at least comment on what you had mentioned. I think it's important to point out that when students go on our portal and look at all the different programs and opportunities and the application deadlines for those, it's very clear every program has an application deadline. And they're usually out, a year in advance. But knowing what Barbara mentioned about the length of time it takes to get that and also to get the acceptance, we won't necessarily know who the DACA students are or students who have advanced parole. So we may need to work specifically with Anna and maybe with Barbara to point out so that we can help in advancing some of those documentation, including acceptance letters, or if we can make decisions earlier to support the process of requesting an advanced parole. I just wanted to let you know that we will work behind the scenes to try to mitigate those.
Thank you, Vid, for that reminder. And there is a portion at the end of the survey, if you do fill it out, as we continue working towards building these resources and really finding where the needs are, we would like to engage some of you or all of you, if you're interested in these meetings or in these conversations, and really get your input and feedback in this process. So feel free to fill out the survey if you have some, maybe 10 minutes out of your day. And let us know if you're interested in engaging in these conversations as we continue to move forward. Thank you, Vid, for that reminder. All right. Any questions from our audience? All right, so I'll ask this question. Vid, are there any resources or opportunities to study abroad after graduation or as you get closer with your last year of graduation? Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry about that. I also want to recognize this, my colleague Julie is in the call too. So Julie, feel free to add anything that I may have missed. So basically all of our programs are geared toward students who are currently enrolled at San Jose State. There's some instances where a student wants to go on let's say a summer program following their graduation. Sometimes what we advise students to do is not to petition for graduation because that will close out their record. They could still walk, but then they can enroll in a summer program. I want to point out that Julie might point out because she does work and is contact with some of the nonprofit organizations and other opportunities beyond study abroad for alumni to engage in, including Peace Corps. We often will have these workshops and information sessions for opportunities for study abroad alumni or San Jose State alumni. Julie, anything you want to add in on that? Sorry to.
Hi, everybody. I'm Julie, and I work with VID in the Study Abroad and Away office. And yeah, definitely as far as any opportunities, if you're interested in going abroad post-graduation, we do have the Fulbright program, so that's teaching English abroad. And then as VID mentioned, also the Peace Corps program as well, where you can also teach and volunteer abroad. And our office also works with all of those programs as well. So if you have any questions about those, we're happy to chat with you and advise you on any of those opportunities as well.
I have a question.
And then
okay, I have a question regarding traveling through employment. What if like you're self-employed? How flexible is is it the government? I don't know which branch of government that deals with giving advanced parole. How flexible are they with that? Like, does it have to be like a corporation, or can someone that's self-employed travel through employment? Like, let's say maybe you start your little journalism company and you want to like travel for something like that, for example.
Yeah, I think that definitely is a valid reason. You don't need to have a corporation. And you would just need to submit enough documentation to show the reasons why you want to travel and include whatever that may be. Show your work here in the US or work specifically that you want to do abroad. But I definitely think that can be possible. You can also request advanced parole for several reasons or more than one reason. So it can also be, I want to go for this employment purpose, but also to visit family. And so that may also increase your chance, if it happens to be in the same area or country, that may also increase your chances of getting approved one way or the other.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And also for that question about studying abroad post-graduation, I also put in the chat just a link to our FAQ and the response to that for if you did want to do like a short-term program after graduation. So if you wanted to do a summer school abroad program or a faculty-led program, as long as the units weren't going towards your graduation requirements, you could apply to the program as an open university student. And we'd be happy to kind of talk you through that process as well. But I also put that in the chat.
And our organization can also help with the legal services aspect. So especially if it's through a program like that after graduation. So you don't need to, we're not going to be as strict with whether you're technically enrolled or not for that part. So you can still reach out for our services.
Barbara, can I ask a quick question? It might be important too, because we were actually working on launching our international internship opportunities for students. I wonder, when we launched that program of, providing internship for students, would that be considered if students are interested in that and just that and not a study, you know, at a university, but just to go on it for an internship? Would they need to apply for a work-related? Is that work-related employment, or is that education? Would that be considered educational because it's, you know, managed by a university?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it would depend on the details of it, but we can also put it under both. So you don't need to necessarily pick one, but you can explain how it goes towards your career and developing your resume, but also educational. Maybe there's like courses that, you know, are part of the internship or things like that, or seminars. So yeah, I think we could frame it as both or one or the other. But that sounds like a great opportunity as well.
Right. Thank you all. I have one question, Barbara. I don't know if this was already highlighted, but is there a recommendation on how long someone should be abroad with advanced parole?
Good question. With travel, and this would apply with anybody who's a non-citizen, we recommend checking in with us or a trusted or another trusted immigration attorney before you travel, because there are restrictions even when someone has their green card as to how much time they should be abroad. And if they're going to be abroad a certain time, you may need to also obtain a permit before you leave or when you come back in. So definitely within any status, check in with us to see how long you're going to be out and what, see if you need anything before you leave or what the risks are. And with advanced parole, it just depends on what you request. So there have been individuals that request a semester, a weekend, a few weeks, even a year. So you can definitely request it. And when USCIS approves the request, they'll list on the travel document when you have to return by. So then you'll know what you were approved for, whether you were approved for the length of time that you requested or not. And then I think the more individual risks of how long that an individual should be out, I think will depend more on their own case facts.
And one more question. So we have about 9 minutes, so folks can still continue asking questions, but I'm going to continue asking on folks' behalf. So are students able to meet with you, Barbara, throughout the summer if they want to start planning that early?
Yes, of course. So we'll have set days and times like we do during the fall and spring. We'll have those in the summer too, where individuals can book appointments to speak to us directly. But again, if those days and times don't work, you can schedule to talk to one of us at any other time. So we'll be available during the summer.
Thank you.
Yes, this program is year round.
Thanks.
Our legal services program.
Thank you. And a question that's in our chat, you know, if they're graduating May, can they still get services from ILD?
Still check in with us. Like I said, we really want these services to be accessible, and sometimes the timing doesn't work out. Maybe you're eligible for a program or you don't get your documents in time until after May. And so we don't want to not be able to have you access these resources just because of the technicality of when you graduate. So still check in. Of course, with everything, we can't guarantee that we'll accept your case, but you can definitely check in to see if we can consider your case, even as alumni. And once we start the case, we don't stop and close it as soon as you graduate. So if it takes 5 years to process with immigration, you're our client for 5 years, no matter where you are in your educational journey.
Thank you for that.
Excuse me, I have a question. I'm sorry.
No, go for it. Go for it.
So I do not have DACA, but I have my grades are, I've tried getting my stuff together, and just kind of thinking right here. I have a little nonprofit organization with some friends, and we kind of want to inspire kids to attend to college. And it would just mean a lot if I could just say that. I don't know if there's any that I'm so sorry. My question is, uh, is there any chance I could go even if I don't have a DACA or anything like that?
To travel abroad, you mean?
Yes.
Maybe, maybe not. But we can talk about more. If you make an appointment to talk to one of us, then we can do a full assessment with you and see what your options look like.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. There are other types of status, like I said, that have that allow travel or not. TPS allows for advanced parole. Like I said, if you have a green card, then it depends on how much time you want to be abroad. And with some lawful statuses, it's not as easy to travel abroad, and it may be discouraged. So for example, if you have like a U visa, even though it has the word visa in it, it's not really you can't use that to leave the US and come back in. Or if you've received asylum, there may be implications or consequences if you're traveling back to the country where you either suffered persecution or fear suffering persecution. But so just to make sure you check in with us before. And I see there's a question about siblings. Yes, so our services are also not only to students, but their family members. So your siblings we can do a consultation and help them in their case, as well as parents. So please, you can make an appointment for your brother.
And I included the link to the legal support website where you can find the intake form to request an appointment, whether it's you or a family member. So just to do a quick time check, we're 5 minutes before our closing. Any last questions from our audience at this moment? If not, it's okay. I feel like we got a lot of really great information, and for those who are thinking about studying abroad, we have plenty of time to start planning ahead and thinking about what that will look like in the next year or so. And for those who are thinking about travel options within the United States, continue checking in with folks. And again, ILD is just such a great resource, and it's completely free of cost to you and your family. One thing we didn't necessarily highlight on here, or maybe we did, right? But for folks who don't have a current immigration status or try to think, how do I get back, is there a pathway towards citizenship or permanent residency? Meet with ILD, they do immigration intake. So they will work with you to see, is there a pathway for you to fix your status down the line, or for a family member, whether it's your parents or siblings. So, utilize ILD to the full extent of their services. We all know how expensive immigration attorneys can be. And so this is a really, really great resource for our students and their families. So with that, thank you all once again. We are here throughout the summer. We're here throughout spring break. Our next session for the legal services is going to be the week when we come back from spring break. I will double check the date right now. And yes, and please feel free to connect with us via social media, or we don't have our emails on here, but we'll drop them in the chat. If Julie, Vid, Barbara, you can all include your emails on here if so students can reach out to you. And yes, with that, best of luck to all of our students here in the call on your midterms. I hope you have a really great spring break. And thank you for joining us today. We'll continue to post more events and post more information for all of you to have in the upcoming weeks, especially once the new year starts and we have more information around travel and what that will look like for all of us. All right, well, thank you once again. Have a good day, everyone.